It's your boy, the host with the most. I do not brag or boast, and I'm coming to you guys live from coast to coast. It's your boy. I'm back with another live stream. Just my opinion podcast. As always, rate, comment, subscribe. Share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this YouTube channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. You heard me? First and foremost, I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart. I haven't been uploading consistently, particularly on this channel. Your boy's been mad busy with the holidays and just a lot of other stuff that's been going on. So unfortunately, I can't upload consistently. But nevertheless, I'm the best. We're about to tackle today's story. All right. And today's story is a doozy. Breaking news. Breaking news. This just came down the news wire. The Clippers sent Chris Paul home, say he's no longer on the team. Okay. In a stunning overnight move, the Los Angeles Clippers announced that Chris Paul would no longer be on the team. Paul was one of the greatest players in Clippers franchise history. Posted on Instagram story a little before 3 a.m. Wednesday that he had just learned he was being sent home to Los Angeles from Atlanta when the Clippers play the Atlanta Hawks on Wednesday. Shortly afterwards, the Clippers president of basketball operations, Frank, text in a statement to ESPN confirming Paul is no longer on the team. We are parting ways with Chris. He's no longer with us. He's no longer with the team. Frank says we will work with him on the next step of his career. Chris is a legendary Clipper who has had historical career, and wants to make one thing very clear: no one's blaming Chris for our underperformance. I accept full responsibility for the record we have right now. There's a lot of reasonable there are a lot of reasons why we are struggling. We're grateful for the impact Chris has made with the franchise. To move on from Paul and the Clippers would we would have to waive him or pay him out his $3.6 million salary agreed if he agrees to a buyout, or looks to be traded, or we looking to trade him, which they couldn't execute until December the 15th. The Clippers have lost 14 of their past 16 games, including five straight. They have a 5-16 record. They lost to Bradley. They already lost Bradley Beal, one of their biggest offseason signings. I don't think that's a big offseason signing, but that's neither here nor there. To a season-ending hip injury that happened in early November. Paul has rejoined the Clippers in late July on a one-year deal for Paul. Paul is 40. This was a chance to return home to finish his career with the franchise he spent 6 seasons with from 2011 to 2017. Sources told ESPN Sharms last month that Paul is retiring at the end of the season, and this will be his 21st year in the NBA. All right, so we got all that stuff on out of the way. Let's get to it. We ain't got nothing to do but to get to it. Here's my thoughts, okay? And this is going to sound very conceited, but it just has to be known. Totally forgot that Chris Paul, thanks for the thumbs up, that Chris Paul signed with the Clippers. I totally forgot about that. That escaped my mind. Over the summer, I did talk about Bradley Beal going to the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are also going to retain James Harden. James Harden came to camp out of shape. He's still kind of out of shape, and his age, he's not getting any younger, he's getting older. Kawhi Leonard is the same Kawhi Leonard that we got last year. He's unreliable because of his injury and because of his age. Just one of those things. Um, the Clippers thought they had the Clippers had high hopes for this roster. Kawhi coming back, James Harden coming back. You just got Bradley Beal, and now you got Chris Paul. There was talk of them getting Ben Simmons. I think they had Ben Simmons last year. So and the other pieces, they thought they was going to make they thought there was going to be a very consistent team, a team that's going to contend, hopefully make it to the playoffs, and let the chips fall where they may once they reach the postseason. I felt like even if they did make the playoffs, they're going to be a one and done. Because it's just too many moving parts as far as you know they're veterans, older veterans. And there's nothing wrong with veterans, but when you got Chris Paul, who's in his 21st season in the NBA, you got James Harden, who's also old, you got Kawhi Leonard, who's also old. Plus, Kawhi has already won a title, so he really doesn't have anything to prove. Plus, you got this scandal with Kawhi Leonard hovering over him and the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. Um, James Harden, he's not really in basketball shape. I think right now James Harden is just playing for a check. It would not surprise me none if James Harden decides to hang him up at the end of this season. Depending on if there's a team out there that willing to sign James Harden to a 1 year contract. And if you look at the teams next year, there's not a lot of teams out there that wants James Harden as a starter. Now, somebody like a role player, someone to come off the bench, they'll probably kick the tires around, but we all know James Harden is not built that way. If he's not starting, he's not playing. So it would not surprise me none if this will be the last season of James Harden. Okay, because I don't think there's going to be plenty knocks on the door in the first place. Kawhi Leonard, he probably going to play next year, but where? He might just leave the Clippers. Or the Clippers might entertain a trade. But who are the takers? Who would want Kawhi at this stage of his career? It's not like you're getting a Kawhi in his prime. It's not like you're getting James Harden. Hey, how you doing, Linda? How you doing, Lindsay? Oh, excuse me, Lindsay Hamilton, 4938. How are you doing this lovely morning? Okay, so when you're looking at all these factors, and then they thought Bradley Beal was going to be the X factor. Bradley Beal wasn't the X factor for the Phoenix Suns last year. He came to the Clippers. I'm doing great, Lindsay. I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing? He came from the Phoenix Suns, that disaster over there. They had to do a dumpster dive wholesale. Kevin Durant is no longer in Phoenix. Bradley Beal is no longer in Phoenix. So, I don't understand what they thought they was going to get out of Bradley Beal. But when you look at this Chris Paul factor, to me, the writing is on the wall. I mean, when you've been in the league that long and they're really not depending on you for anything else, there's three things you have to be spot on when you're that age, when you've been in the NBA this long. One, you have to still score. You have to figure out a way to score. Chris Paul was never a prime time scorer. An elite scorer, excuse me. He's not an elite scorer. He can score, but he's not an elite scorer. Okay? So you got to X that on out. Um, your name recognition. Are you going to be able to put butts in seats? Are you going to sell out the arenas? Are you going to get sponsors to sponsor you and the team. Chris Paul did have a run with State Farm, but other than that, Chris Paul hasn't been in anything else. And that's when he was in his prime. When he was in his prime, he was getting them State Farm commercials left to right. Okay. So you're not signing Chris Paul for that. When they signed Chris Paul, this was all to, send Chris Paul on a bang. Pause. This was going to be the year that he was going to retire. This was going to be his retirement swan song. This was going to be his final time in the NBA. He was going to end it in Los Angeles. So, from Chris Paul's perspective, mission accomplished, even though he didn't make it throughout the season, but mission accomplished. But what did the Clippers get from this? They didn't get anything from this. Okay. Chris Paul wasn't a game changer. He wasn't the X factor. He wasn't the one piece that's going to make you a contender. He would help. Of course he would help. I think Chris Paul works better with younger players. It totally shocked me Chris Paul didn't re-sign with the Spurs. And maybe the Spurs were no longer interested in Chris Paul. That could be a factor as well. But and Houston, they got Kevin Durant and they got I forgot his last name. Oh my God, I forgot his name. He used to play for the Toronto Raptors, but he's injured. But yeah, Chris Paul going to the Clippers is not benefiting the Clippers as contending. It's not really benefiting the Clippers as putting butts in seats. They already got stars that's putting butts in seats, and he's not. At this stage of his career, he's not a shut down defender. And in today's modern NBA, you really don't need a shut down defender because teams don't play defense anyway. So that eliminates that one. Okay. So yeah, so this was all beneficial to Chris Paul. I think the Clippers and the owner, Steve Ballmer, was, giving Chris Paul a hand me out. Hey, look, you want to end your career with the Clippers? We'll welcome you with open arms. Okay. And that's why they came to this conclusion, because Chris Paul wasn't the main ingredient as far as the Clippers contending. The Clippers have a bad record. They are, can they turn it around? Possibly. They could turn it around. Okay. But, are they going to win the title? I don't think so. Then, even without this record, going in, I didn't expect them to win the title. I thought, and I spoken too soon and spoken too highly of the Clippers, I thought the Clippers were going to be contenders, okay? At least contenders in the regular season, all right? I was going to give them that much rope, okay? But yeah, this is, all beneficial to Chris Paul. This wasn't really beneficial to the Clippers. So that's why the Clippers came to this conclusion so fast, so quickly, and so swiftly. If Chris Paul can accept a buyout from the Clippers, I think that's the only play he has in his cards. That's the only thing he has. I don't think there's a team that's willing to trade for him. So yeah, as far as the future with Chris Paul, can he play for a team this year? The pickings are very, very slim. Maybe Houston might kick the tires around. Fred VanVleet is injured, so maybe he can join the Rockets with Kevin Durant. I don't know how he's going to contribute with the Rockets, how much he can contribute for the Rockets. But is there a possibility he can go to the Lakers? If LeBron was still running things with the Los Angeles Lakers, probably. But this is Luka's team. Maybe Luka might kick the tires around of Chris Paul, but I don't think they need Chris Paul when you talk about the Lakers. So if they want now they got 3 players on the roster that can't defend. You got LeBron, you got Luka, and now you got Chris Paul, and you don't really need Chris Paul at this point, okay? But like I said, somebody's going to pick up Chris Paul this season, and it remains to be seen if he'll return for another season. Okay, now there's talk, rumors that the Charlotte Hornets might be interested in Chris Paul. I'm not sure about that, but hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. So, as far as the future for Chris Paul, there might be a team that's interested in Chris Paul for this season, and the future remains if he can sign on to a team next season. But I believe this is Chris Paul's final year. Even Chris Paul wanted this to be his final year. And I said Charlotte Hornets. There's talk that the Charlotte Hornets may be interested in Chris Paul. We have to wait and see about that. If he really wants to go to Charlotte, that's up to Chris Paul. But yeah, you know. But as far as the Clippers go, they're clearly just shutting down shop because I don't see the Clippers contending for a title this year. I don't see the Clippers being contending for the season. I don't even see the Clippers doing much. You know, the Clippers are going to have a hard time being a 500 team, and look at the payroll of the Clippers. Okay, you pay Chris Paul, you pay Bradley Beal, you pay Kawhi Leonard, you pay James Harden, and this is what you get in return. Plus, the Clippers don't have a future. It's not like they can go in the draft and they can just lose out and they'll get a top pick in the draft. They don't even have a top draft pick for many moons in the NBA draft. So they're going to have to, I don't know, package some stuff together to get a decent draft pick in the first round. I don't know, I don't. They're messed up. They're tore up from the flow up. Um, they were really betting on Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and the other cast, and it's just not looking good for the Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to be uh, cellar dwellers for the next 4 years because what Steve Ballmer, Lawrence Frank, and I don't know if Ty Lue wants to continue to coach this team because there's really nothing to coach with this team. Um, what they're going to have to do is rebuild for the future. And how you rebuild for the future, you got to have a high draft pick, which they currently do not have. Okay, so yeah, the the struggle is real with the Clippers. I say for the least 3 to 4 years. Okay, until they can get a top draft, until they can actually get a pick, and even when they get the opportunity to pick high, they're going to have to make sure they hit big with this pick. Okay, I mean immediately big. Okay, unless they can get a star from another team. Package some stuff together. I think that's what got them in trouble in the first place with Kawhi Leonard, giving up so much for Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. You're giving up a lot of your future for those two players, and now you only got one of those players. So yeah. So that's all I got for today, guys. Tell me what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces.